Hi, it's Matt here from P1 with Matt and Tommy, and this episode is sponsored by eBay. Ever tried to buy a car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger, a paper title, and some blind trust? With Secure Purchase on eBay, you don't have to. Secure Purchase means sellers and titles are verified. Financing covered. Registration handled. Delivery, get your ride, plates, and paperwork shipped to you, so you can skip the DMV and sketchy meetups. Buy your next car on eBay. eBay. Things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary.
Father, or should I call you Steve? Since it's a new year, maybe we should start cooking fresh with fewer smoke alarms this time. Your cooking's improving, but I can see the stress in your eyes. Anna's mom used this Blue Apron assemble and bake thing during our playdate. Pre-chopped ingredients, over 40 grams of protein, and just one pan to clean up. She just tossed it in the oven and boom, plating like she's got followers. So go to blueapron.com, Steve. Make 2026 the year you win dinner. Blue Apron. Get 50% off your first 2 orders plus free shipping with code LISTEN50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7.
Thank you, Evans, in for Jamie East this week. And on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we catch up on the Grok chatbot controversy, get the latest on NASA's moon project, and hear about an ADHD diagnosis crisis. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, tells us what Apple and Google are up to and celebrates Wikipedia's 25th birthday. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started, though, it was on this day in 1911 that history was made as a plane landed on a ship for the first time. Pilot Eugene Ely landed a biplane on the deck of the USS Pennsylvania in San Francisco Harbor and started the process that would lead to the building of aircraft carriers, which significantly changed the course of naval military history. There's been no shortage of drama and scandal since Elon Musk first walked into Twitter's headquarters carrying a sink for reasons that were never quite clear. That was back in October 2022, and the platform has been through some dramatic changes since then, including a name change to X and a brutal slashing of staff to leave the platform leaner and far more to the right than it used to be. Musk remains one of the platform's biggest influencers, and his changes to things like the verification and subscription systems have encouraged a flood of right-wing influencers onto the platform. However, this week a new controversy which centred around his AI chatbot Grok almost saw X banned or blocked entirely in the UK. Grok is central to Musk's vision for X and has been increasingly adopted by users to verify facts and to gamify the platform. However, the latest trend saw serious concern from government and regulators alike. Inspired by the trend for so-called nudify apps, Grok users have been asking it to generate unclothed images of women, celebrities, and in some cases children, all without any apparent oversight or concern from the platform. Things got so bad that the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, got involved.
The actions of Grok and X are disgusting and they're shameful. And frankly, the decision to then turn this into a premium service is horrific. And we're absolutely determined to take action here. We've made it clear that X has to act, and if not, Ofcom has our full backing and will introduce and are introducing legislation.
Media regulator Ofcom has begun a formal investigation, and X finally acted to at least geo-block the feature and put them back in compliance with UK laws. Damian Collins, who chaired the UK's Culture, Media and Sports Select Committee, says there's no question that the platforms, particularly X, need to be better at policing their users.
In terms of the act of sharing, it doesn't matter how it's done. In terms of the platform's responsibility, the act of promoting or boosting, amplifying content that users have created is all within scope. What we have seen, though, particularly in the last year, is more cases of people using other platforms to generate these images in the first place. Now, that act of generation of making these deepfake images isn't within scope of the Online Safety Act, but can be brought within it. But the act of sharing that content always has been.
It's been a tough week for AI, as West Midlands Police also found themselves in hot water over the use use of AI-assisted searches, which led to them banning Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from attending an Aston Villa Europa League fixture in November. The decision caused huge embarrassment for the UK government and led to Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood saying she's lost confidence in the West Midlands Chief Constable. Blair Gibbs, director of the Police Foundation, says despite this incident, AI is a useful tool for the police.
You need to have a proper system of guidance and conventions of how the tools are used, but not to have a chilling effect so that there's some hesitation about its use across the police forces. But there are some very good examples, and there shouldn't be too much doubt that in the scale operations of intelligence gathering and joining together databases, this can save hundreds of hours of officer time. So there is some ethics around it as well, but we wouldn't want to over-regulate it.
Former Transport Secretary Louise Haigh says the whole system of AI regulation needs to be improved and updated.
I think we need to take a fundamentally different approach, adopt a principles-based, far more flexible approach to regulation, have a new specific AI regulator and a dedicated committee that oversees that in Parliament to hold their decisions to account in real time. I don't think the way that we have legislated for hundreds of years in Parliament is fit for the challenges that AI is presenting.
Apart from Grok, there's been plenty of tech news this week, so it's probably time to catch up with the fully clothed Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's tech guru. Will, do you think Elon has done enough to get himself out of trouble?
We're only 2 and a bit weeks into January, and there's been enough going on in the world of tech to last me several years. We started the week with Elon Musk reacting to reports from globally trusted child safety charities who noticed Grok was allowing you to put teenagers into cling film bikinis by posting a picture of Keir Starmer in one. And I'm not entirely sure whether Elon Musk suddenly came to his senses and U-turned on talk it was the left who wanted to cancel X as a so-called free speech platform, or the fact that a Californian attorney made it clear they would also be kicking off an investigation if Musk didn't follow laws and stop what's known as non-consensual intimate image abuse.
He's just IP blocking the issue though, right? It's not a permanent fix.
Well, the technical methods used to stop Grok serving up these creepy images appears to have changed a couple of times already in the day since it was put in place. And given Musk has been able to freely shape Grok to talk up his own excellence or put a rapid end to its Mecha Hitler phase, there's definitely more he can do to stop these images being posted. I can tell you what could do with a fix though. The dozens of UK so-called X-influencers, or those who make money from Elon Musk, who claim this is because our government doesn't like the fact that Elon tells it like it is. As if sexualising women and kids alone wasn't a good enough reason to stop this from happening.
All of this Grok chat has reignited the debate about banning social media for teens. How's the ban going in Australia?
It certainly has, but I'm really confused as to what the hell's actually going on, as the Tech Secretary and the Prime Minister have both been contradicting themselves this week as to whether the UK would or wouldn't introduce a similar ban. We're only a month or so into the Australian ban, and so far no big fines or pontifications from the Australian government that the tech companies aren't doing their bit. Last week, Meta revealed that it had stopped more than 500,000 underage Australians from accessing its platforms, and that's more going to be Instagram than Facebook, because Facebook is for dinosaurs, right?
It probably wasn't the best week for a giant announcement from the Pentagon, was it? What did the Secretary of War, former Fox News host Peter Hegseth, have to say this week?
As the world was arguing over whether Grok's ability to put anyone into a bikini and, I directly quote, make them look sexy was a free speech or a legal issue, the Secretary of War told us that he'd just authorised AI assistant Grok, the artist formerly known as Mecha Hitler, to be rolled out across the network at the Pentagon, who lead on Americans' defence and war plans. So Grok is going to be used alongside Google's Gemini, which appears to be doing this AI revolution bit fairly silently, making mistakes, but not exactly covering people's unwitting faces with icing like Grok was doing last week.
That seems somewhat unwise, no?
You would indeed hope that some kind of impartial risk assessment has at least been carried out since the once white supremacist chatbot was rolled out. But let's wait and see. Surely nothing bad can happen, right?
There was another slightly more sensible big tech announcement this week too. What are Google and Apple up to?
A huge tech story this. Apple has announced that its upgrades to Siri and Apple Intelligence will in fact be powered by Google's Gemini AI as a result of a multi-year deal. It's going to be powering all of Apple's AI moves going forward, with a team at Apple working alongside the team at Google to personalise the system for Apple's products. This essentially means that Apple are no longer going to be developing their own dedicated AI models. They're going to be relying on the work of Google, who've already spent billions of dollars on making it happen. happen.
Is it a step back from AI for Apple? Or is it a smart move, Will?
This does actually seem like a really good move, because Apple were undoubtedly behind others in the race to develop AI, and its own academics and senior experts were questioning whether the AI bubble was really a long-term change or just the latest tech obsession. And this also frees up Apple to focus on the development of its consumer products and the rush towards wearable tech like glasses, unlike the brilliant but dustbin-like Apple Vision.
And finally, I've looked it up online, and I'm pretty sure it's someone's birthday this week. Is that someone Wikipedia, Will?
I had to double check it when someone told me it was 25 years old this week, and it's hard to ignore the impact it's had on the world. There's millions of entries, and last year an incredible 4.4 billion of us used it at least once. That's half of the world's population. Wikipedia relies on an absolute legion of human editors and moderators to fact check and stop me from adding erroneous facts to Jamie East's entry. You know, he wrote most of the Last of the Summer Wine, and happy birthday to Wikipedia, and happy 70th to Jamie too.
Still coming to Sunday 7, in association with Metro, climate change drives a new weather record, and we investigate the rise in ADHD cases. The numbers are in for 2025, and apparently it was the third warmest year on record. That's according to the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Unit, who also point out that the last 3 years have all seen the global temperature above the 1.5 degree rise that the Paris Climate Change Agreement had set as the upper limit. Worryingly, they also noted that each of the last 11 years are also the 11 warmest years on record, which seems like pretty definitive evidence that climate change is accelerating, despite what US President Donald Trump might think. Carlo Buontempto is the director of the Copernicus service, and he says that while temperatures are definitely rising, it doesn't necessarily mean that the 1.5 degree target has officially slipped out of reach.
The data we have now at the beginning of January indicate that 2025 has been one of the 3 warmest years on record, in particular the third warmest, by a very small fraction of a degree. We are talking about 0.01 degrees cooler than 2023, which is the second, and a tenth and a half of a degree cooler than 2024, that, as we know, has been the warmest year on record. What the reality of the finding tell us is that the last 3 years together are the first 3 years above 1.5, meaning that we are getting closer and closer to the 1.5 degrees threshold defined by Paris.
There's been a significant rise in the numbers of people diagnosed with ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder over the last number of years. Figures from the United States suggest that 11% of children have received a diagnosis, which is a substantial increase from the 2003 figure, which was just 8%. In the UK, the figure is closer to 7%. There has been a rise in cases, and the NHS is flagging that the budget for private ADHD testing has risen dramatically over the last 3 years. Sky News spoke to consultant, psychiatrist and founder of the UK Adult ADHD Network, Dr. Adamou, and asked him if overdiagnosis of the condition is something to be concerned about.
For a good proportion of cases that we see, we wouldn't have diagnosed in the NHS for a number of reasons. So from what I can see, there is evidence of a diagnosis, and there may be several reasons behind that. This is why I understand the government has set up a commission to look into this issue. It is a real issue.
The government commissioned an independent review into mental health conditions, including ADHD and autism, in December. The brief is to consider the rising demand for testing and services, and also to look at how the conditions are treated. The report is expected by this summer, but Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, who is a television presenter and a podcaster, says that the dramatic rise in medication for these conditions is alarming.
As medical professionals, the prescriptions we give out in the UK have gone up by 80% in the past 20 years. Now that's quite a staggering amount. If all of the prescriptions we were giving people were helping them, that would be a good thing. But the uncomfortable truth is that for some conditions, they're really not. A lot of the time, the medications we give are merely there to suppress symptoms. Modern medicine is life-saving. It's just phenomenal what it has done over the past few decades. At the same time, we have to recognize that modern medicine is not fantastic for everything. It's good at certain things, but not everything. So type 2 diabetes, for example, is a condition that is driven by the way we're living our modern lives. That's not putting blame on people. I get that modern life is tough, but nonetheless, many clinicians like myself have been helping people put their type 2 diabetes into remission for years.
Still to come on the Sunday 7, in association with Metro, NASA deals with a medical emergency and West Sussex celebrates a rewilding success.
right after this.
Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers, so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/ACAST today.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back.
Well, we heard earlier about the climate change crisis and its impact on the surface of the planet. Things move much more slowly at a deeper level. This week, Channel 4 sent a crew to northern Ethiopia to investigate the Afar region, where recent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions have alerted geologists to a dramatic shift that is going on, which could see in time Africa split in two and a brand new ocean form. Mussa Hammedu is a geologist from Ethiopia's Samara University, and he's spent most of the last 20 years monitoring the progress of what appears to be a significant geological event.
The earthquake is the result of the pulling apart of the plates. The movement comes from the mantle to the surface. When we come to this area, most of geologists or scientists say this is a laboratory.
America's space agency NASA is all fired up for the next phase of their Artemis mission. The plan is to send a manned flight around the moon as part of Artemis 2, which will help to gather data and provide the crew experience before an actual landing on the moon, which is scheduled for no earlier than 2027. Former commercial space entrepreneur Jared Isaacman is the new administrator for NASA, and it's been a whirlwind of activity since his appointment just a few weeks ago. Before the Artemis 2 mission launches, though, this week saw NASA dealing with an unprecedented situation when a crew member on their International Space Station became ill and the whole 4-person crew had to return to Earth early. Isaacman held a press conference on Thursday to update on the mission and the crew member, who hasn't been named for privacy reasons.
The crew member of concern is doing fine. We will share updates on their health as soon as it's appropriate to do so. Over the past 5 months aboard the International Space Station, Crew 11 completed a series of demanding and productive mission objectives. The crew spent more than 850 hours on scientific studies, including research on bone loss and microgravity and the long-term storage of cryogenic fluids in space with direct applications in medical and industrial fields. This work advanced our understanding of long-duration spaceflight and contributed valuable research that benefit life here on Earth and further human exploration. To be overwhelmingly clear, Crew 11 was a very successful mission. While this was the first time we had to return crew slightly ahead of schedule, NASA was ready.
The launch window for the Artemis 2 mission opens on February 6th, and next week we'll see NASA rolling out the Orion capsule and launcher in preparation. Americans haven't walked on the moon since December 1972, and only 12 have ever actually been on the lunar surface. However, the ambition from NASA and its new administrator is on a grand scale, which includes plans for potential lunar colonies powered by custom nuclear reactors and a longer-term plan to land on Mars.
We are going to do it. President Trump's national space policy outlines already the plan to do it. We got to start making investments in nuclear power in space. We're going to make nuclear great in space again. This type of a program is only what NASA can do. And that's when we're at our best.
Dr. Mari Henderson is a planetary scientist with the University of Maryland, and she's one of the team training the Artemis crew at the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. And she's very excited about what the mission might entail.
I cannot wait to hear their voices when they get to the far side of the moon, and I can hear them talk about seeing the moon out their window. I try to imagine it now, and I can't even There are a lot of places that human eyes have never seen. We can see part of Oriental Basin from here on Earth. Sometimes it's right on the limb. And this is pretty much the textbook impact basin that we compare across the solar system. We use this as a basis for impacts on everything from Mercury to Pluto. We're really interested to see that perspective and fill in the gaps from our orbital data with astronaut observations.
There's plenty of gloom and doom around the climate and wildlife, so it's nice to end this week's episode with some positive news. This week saw China's giant panda officially come off the endangered list as wild populations recover and conservation efforts by the Chinese government have begun to pay off. There was more good news too from a corner of the UK, more specifically the Knepp estate in West Sussex, where the gloriously named Isabella Tree and her husband Charlie Burrell have been engaged in a 20-year project to rewild the estate. A review of progress shows a growing list of bird species, many whom were previously on the red list, and the introduction of beavers along with the longhorn cattle, ponies and pigs have all contributed to an upswing in diversity and what ecologists are calling a mosaic of habitats. Isabel spoke to the BBC this week about how the project has far exceeded their expectations.
It's absolutely astonishing. It's sort of more than we could ever have possibly imagined when we started out on this project about 20 or so years ago. I mean, for example, we have now some of the most endangered species in the UK, including nightingales. Last year we had 60 singing males, which is about 1% of the population in the UK. So, having gone from being a very depleted, polluted, dysfunctional farmland, we're on very, very poor soil here in Sussex. We've now become one of the most significant biodiversity hotspots in the UK. And it's not just the endangered species that we're seeing here, which is so thrilling. It's the abundance of life. And I think that's what this 20-year survey is showing. It's the enormous uplift in biodiversity, which is changing everyone's minds about how much the land can actually hold. We should be much, much more ambitious, I think, for our nature reserves and our rewilding projects.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.